Happy Monday. So happy you're here with us. And guess why we're all here, OG? Because we didn't have to pay attention to this international situation as much as...
Is that what we call it now? The situation?
I think
that used to be a guy on MTV, but now it's a guy in Russia. Yeah. He's just called the situation.
And that'll escalate to a police action.
He's the situation now.
No longer just on the Jersey Shore. No. It's, yes, spreading internationally,
Moscow.
Sadly. Hey, got to give a big shout out at this tense time to the men and women of our armed forces, keeping us all safe. Let's all go. Stay safe, everybody, and let's stack some Benjamins together.
Hello there, Peabody here. And this is the Wayback Machine for traveling through time. And this is my boy, Sherman. Speak, Sherman.
Hello.
Good boy.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and what was the last bandwagon you were tempted to jump on? Crypto? NFTs? Dating Pete Davidson? Not every new fad is a great idea. Just ask Ariana. Here to help us make better decisions about following the crowd, we have, from the Wall Street Journal's Heard on the Street column, Spencer Jakab. We'll have a TikTok minute about NFTs that'll make you say WTF. We'll throw out the Haven Lifeline to Sarah with a question about helping the unbanked, and we'll also feature a disturbing headline about bank loans, and finally, I'll roll out my incredible trivia. And now, two guys whose bandwagon you'd do well to hop on. It's Joe and O-G-G-G-G.
Happy Monday, Stackers. I am Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter. We're so happy to help you roll into a new week. OG, we've got the coffee cups full. I got my...
Thankfully. I feel like it's like 4 a.m.
It is. We got to get up early to make the donuts for everybody, OG. That is our role. That is our job.
Good
so
night.
that stackers can sit back, relax, and have a fantastic Monday.
You think we're the first voices some people are listening to on a Monday morning?
We're the alarm clock.
Yeah, I think. Live!
Oh, I think I'm awake now. I am totally awake. Well, if you're not awake yet, we're going to wake you up with as Doug, you so eloquently said, a disturbing headline about car loans. Getting back into some messes there. Some people are. We're going to keep you out of that entanglement. And then Spencer Jakab here from the Wall Street Journal. You read the Heard on the Street column.
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
You.
Well, I read it too, Joe.
Okay.
I steal OG's copy, read it, then iron it flat so it looks fresh, and I fold it back up again and put it on the porch.
He can tell.
It's okay, as long as it's on the porch and not on the road, which is okay.
Yes. Well, it's good. More people need to read Spencer Jakab's work. We're going to hear about a new book he has out that maybe this Gamestop thing didn't go down the way that we thought that it was going down. But before all that, well, running a small business, as you may know, like I do, it is super fun, but it can also be very tough. And when it's time to get a loan, it can feel impossible to find the lender that you actually trust. Big banks say no. The internet, well, that's full of sketchy offers with sky-high rates and fine print you can barely read. Whether you need help covering payroll, managing cash flow, or investing in growth, you deserve better. And that's why I recommend the small business marketplace Fundera, which is powered by NerdWallet. It's a free, easy-to-use platform. It lets you compare real financing offers from trusted lenders, and it's all in one place. And what I like is that you don't need perfect credit to get started. There's no spam. There's no bait and switch. Just personalized options that fit your business needs. Nothing I like better than a place that treats me the way that they would want to be treated. Using Fundera is a super way to quickly compare options and make your best funding move the way any great business owner would. Here's the best part, though. For a limited time, when you visit nerdwallet.com/SB and fill out the no obligation form, you're going to get VIP treatment and talk with a real person who knows all the ins and outs of small business lending. And you can tell them specifically what you're looking for. they can tell you specifically which options you should probably consider most. Don't risk your business on unreliable lenders. Go to nerdwallet.com/SB to learn more and find the funding you deserve. Fundera Inc., NMLS ID number 1240038. Well, there's nothing that relieves stress more when you have had a long day, you are completely fried, and you're thinking to yourself, maybe I'll just go out to dinner. But then you think about all those calories, all that money out of your wallet, and then you realize that you can eat healthy because you found Factor. Factor is ready in 2 minutes. Factor shops, preps, cooks, and delivers straight to your door, so you have more time for everything you love this spring, and you don't have to worry about eating healthy and going outside your budget because you've got the food sitting there in the fridge that you had pre-planned. What is Factor? Well, Factor has meals built around your goals, whether that's weight loss, overall nutrition, more protein, or GLP-1 support for strength and workout recovery. Check out Factor's Muscle Pro collection. Every meal's crafted with functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. Factor bans 175 plus ingredients. No artificial colors or sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, no refined seed oils, just nutrient-dense foods. It's fresh, never frozen, over 100 rotating weekly meals, including globally inspired flavors like Mediterranean and Asian, so there's always something new to look forward to. I use Factor. I think you're going to love it too. Head to factormeals.com/SB50off, stackers, and use code SB50off, and you're going to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with new subscriptions only while supplies last until 9/27/2026. All right, Spencer Jakab from the Wall Street Journal coming up, but first, let's roll into our headline.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamin's headlines.
Our headline today comes to us also from the Wall Street Journal. We're surrounded today, OG, by Wall Street Journal. But Ben Eisen wrote this one. Where are banks finding borrowers? Guess, OG, where they're finding borrowers.
Corner store.
On the car lot. Big banks are pushing deeper into auto lending. Bank of America said last year was a record for auto loan originations. Wells Fargo and Company posted 3 straight quarters of records. It said the fourth quarter was up 77% from a year earlier. So the two most hated banks in America. Hey, you know what?
Let's get into car loans.
We've got a great way to Darth Vader some people. Let's do some auto lending. Auto lending is a dangerous thing, OG, and buying a new car can also be a dangerous thing. And I feel like this is just a disaster for a lot of unsuspecting people waiting to happen.
Well, let's just assume that people who are buying cars are actually doing it because it's time to buy a car and not just because there's a whole bunch of stimulus money lying around. But why wouldn't you buy a new car right now, considering the prices of used cars?
No, that is interesting because when you look at the price of a new car, the reason why people go used versus new usually is because a car depreciates. This is a number from bankrate.com. A new car loses between 15 and 20% of its value each year. But a lot of that, as you know, is right off the top.
For like the first 3 years, and then it just kind of flattens out, right?
Well, it slows down. It doesn't flatten out, but it does slow down.
Sure.
But those first 3 years are monsters. So when you just look at that alone, buying a used car makes sense. But I'm with you right now. The used car market right now is en fuego.
Yeah.
It's a great time to get very low financing if you need it and get a deal that probably makes up for that 15 to 20%.
Well, I'll give you an example. I just got a letter yesterday from the Toyota dealer here in Dallas by our house. So we bought a Toyota minivan in 2016. It's a 2017 that we bought at the end of 16. So it's about 5 years old, right?
Because they built you a car in the future.
They did. That's how that works.
It is. That's what type of customer you are.
They're like, don't tell anyone, but this one's next year's. Like, isn't this the... Yeah, I could never understand why they come out in the summertime with next year's car. I just...
Back to the letter you got. Pull it together,
quiet.
boys.
The adults are talking. Just because we invite you here doesn't give you the right to interrupt me.
Well,
Stop. I got a whole bag of right here. Anywho's.
Joe.
So, get this letter from Toyota. It's a 5-year-old minivan. We bought it for $40,000. It's got 70,000 miles on it, and they want to give us $32,000 to trade it in right now. So 70,000 mile minivan, 5 years old.
Wow.
$32,000 to trade it in. Now, the problem, of course, is the brand new one costs $50,000.
Yeah.
Right.
If you can get it.
If you can get it. So if you can get what you want, if it happens to be on the lot, or you can order it kind of in advance, why would you not get a new one now if you can afford it? Frankly, even if you weren't in the market for one, because you're resetting that clock to your point of like starting over again. I just got to use this car for 5 years.
What do you mean you're resetting that clock?
That, that depreciation schedule. You're kind of starting over again.
But if you can get something where you're not paying out of pocket another $15,000.
Or if you are, think of it this way. If I got $30,000 for this minivan, I used it for 5 years for $2,000 a year. That's a pretty inexpensive vehicle cost.
I agree with that. But I remember a time, and I think this depends, right, where you are on the economic scale, because to some people, OG, just preserving that cash flow is going to be the all important thing.
Sure.
If I can preserve cash flow first, but I think you're also right. If I need a decent ride and I've been paying out of pocket X amount of money and the actual cost of this loan is pretty damn close to zero.
Yeah.
Interest rates are super attractive. So if you're going to do it, now's the time. It would be better if you could put it together with buying a used one and low interest rates. But the reality is that if you go look at the used car lot, it's just as bare as the new car lot. And if you do find a new car or a used car, it's going to cost damn near as much as the new one does.
Yeah.
Right. Or there's seriously something wrong with it that you don't know yet.
Why not have that 5-year warranty or, whatever comes with brand new cars?
Doug?
It's a weird situation.
I had the, back to the comment I made earlier, is if you can find the replacement vehicle. I had the El Camino in for service the other day and got approached by a salesperson. Hey, would you be interested in trading that in? And yeah, hey, I'm listening to all offers. And so the guy takes me through the whole thing about what it's currently worth. And it was a lot higher than I would have guessed. And we get to the very end and he said, but here's the problem. I can't get you another El Camino like the one you're driving right now. Like, why the hell did you even approach me? If you can't get me a vehicle, then why? But they are clamoring for inventory on their used lot, but they don't have anything to replace it with. They only have half the equation. And so I will more than likely, because OG told me, some of the more sage advice he's given me, this may be the only time in history where the El Camino is an asset rather than a liability. And it might be, I may just end up buying the El Camino outright, finally paying off that 35-year loan I've got on it.
Well, that happened to my mom. When she had a lease and went to go turn it in, and it was more advantageous to buy the car at the buyout lease price and then resell it to the dealer than it would have been to just trade it in. She had a call option for all you Redditors.
That's exactly
for all you
right.
Wall Street boarders. She had a call option on her vehicle.
And if the market doesn't change in the next 8 or 9 months for me, I'm probably doing the same thing.
Yeah. Might even be able to do it earlier.
But you know that there are a bunch of people, though, OG, who do not understand the terminology, don't know what they're getting into. And it's people at car lots, man, especially when you're dealing with the new car dealer and not just some dude down the street. Don't get me wrong. The dude down the street's going to try to get his best deal or her best deal. But when it comes to the car dealership, these people are ninjas. Like, they do this all day, every day. They have classes before the dealership opens every day on how to make sure that they're more profitable. So I think you got to go in there knowing some of the basics.
Well, most of the money comes from the financing and from the maintenance. There's not a lot of money in actually selling the vehicles.
But I also think that you need to know how to make your best deal. If you don't know how to make your best deal, if you haven't done any online shopping, like I've got this U.S. News and World Report pulled up, and I think these are important. First of all, number one, know your budget. Start with your budget, and your budget, by the way, is not the monthly payment. It is the monthly payment could be important, but don't get talked into a bigger loan. We're looking at 8-year loans in some cases now for cars, OG. Think about the depreciation on a brand new car 8 years from now.
Would be 8 times 20%. You said that earlier.
Nice. I was waiting for Doug to add in that one for us. Then second, find the right vehicle. Third, learn the language, and just the language on financing alone. Remember our Friday show a couple weeks ago where we were talking about the Len Penzo from lenpenzo.com was talking about the difference between APR and APY, right?
Right.
Just knowing some of the terminology that people use. To your point, OG, buy a car before you need a car is, I think, something good. But on the other side, don't buy too soon. Know your credit score before you go in, because a few points on your credit score is going to help you a lot. And if you have a credit card, I think, man, I feel like every credit card in my wallet now provides free credit scores, where 7-8 years ago, that was not the case.
Yeah, pretty much. And I would also say, make sure that you look at those comparison shopping sites. If you remember at Costco, for example, you can go down the Costco car purchase program, and it will kind of guide you through, like, here's what we think is the best deal. In fact, even do all of that negotiating up front and say, if you take this, piece of paper into the dealership, this is the Costco price.
Well, and we even talked about, I use Navy Federal's, our sponsors, TrueCar.
TrueCar, yeah. So there's a lot of relationships there to be able. I thought when you were talking about credit cards, I was like, is he going to say to put your car payment on a credit card? Like, I think that you should put your, to get all your points. I was like, boy, that's good. Do that.
I think he sold his soul to some marketer. Yeah, probably not today. Good stuff here. We will have a lot of links on our show notes page. Even more, we'll deep dive into this in our 201, our newsletter, where we do deep dive, stackingbenjamins.com/201. We're also running, by the way, a contest at the 201. So if you're signing up, referring other people, giving away a Sonos speaker, five subscriptions to Tiller Money, and 5 of one of our favorite board games, Franklin's Fortune. So stackingbenjamins.com/201 for that. Hey, it's time for our TikTok Minute, the time when we dive into a TikTok founder talking either about something kind of eye-rolly. Believe it or not, OG, it's kind of easy to find eye-rolly stuff on TikTok and Instagram Reels. Don't know if you know that. But sometimes we also run into some absolute brilliance there.
Some good stuff. This one's going to be a good one.
Well, let's see. This is Richard Telfea on Instagram Reels talking about NFTs. Is this the magic of selling NFTs?
I have 2 million Ethereum and I create an NFT. I use my $2 million to buy my own NFT. So I still have $2 million in Ethereum, and I also have an NFT piece that is worth $2 million according to the price history. I sell my NFT to someone for only $200K or a 90% discount.
And Andy still owns the NFT. Sells an NFT, and now he's at 2.2.
I saw this on Twitter. So this gets no points, no credit. This is an F. This is plagiarism. And
because the Twitter person came up with it before the real person came up with it.
Yes.
Is that the deal?
The
Twitter person would
points.
never steal from the real person at all.
I would award you no points.
That never happens.
God have mercy on your soul.
TikTok people would never dance to the same music as somebody is dancing on an Instagram reel. I get so tired of seeing the same people do the same stuff. But you know what's funny? I worked my head around that math. I seriously had to work my head around that math. And by the way, you
didn't get it.
Looking at the comments at first, all kinds of people going, wow, Gary V, like everybody pinging Gary V so that he can come in and sweep down and talk about why this might or might not make sense. You know how it finally made sense to me? Change it into cars. Like we're talking
when you
about
thought of the word fraud. That helped.
No, because it isn't even fraud. Think about this. I have my car in my driveway. I've got my Equinox sitting in my driveway. I've got $10,000. It isn't worth $10,000.
It's worth 20 now.
I've got $350 sitting in my bank account. I buy my own car from myself for $350. And then I discount it and sell it to my neighbor for $35. Now I have $385 in my bank account. That's what's happening. Like if you change it from this crypto mumbo jumbo to your car.
Except for the fact that NFTs have price history, and if you're picking up something that was for sale before, it's like getting a big discount.
You think you're getting a huge discount.
Yes, that's the fraud part of it.
Gotcha.
This is not a great idea.
No, it's not a great idea anyway. And you're seriously, I mean, don't get me wrong, you're making $200,000 on this deal. Even if it
stealing $200,000.
Even if it, no, dude, it is 8-bit artwork. Who doesn't want 8-bit artwork that I can't put on my wall?
I think you can print it.
And your dot matrix printer.
You can 3D dot matrix print that. Awesome. Thanks for sending these in to us. If you've got a TikTok minute that you want us to explore an Instagram reel, head to Joe at stackingbenjamins.com.
Who is going to have a TikTok? You know what? I really need the Stacking Benjamins guys to dive into this TikTok.
I can't tell you.
I just don't get it. It's too highbrow for me. It's just freaking Ivy League intelligence on TikTok. And I need these two to get to the bottom of it.
Well, they're asking Gary V. They might as well ask us. Yeah. No, we get lots of people, Doug, actually, that send us TikToks, usually the ridiculous ones. But send yours. Joe at stackingbenjamins.com. Coming up next, we have the man behind the Herd on the Street Wall Street Journal column. Spencer Jakab is here. Oh, gee, we heard a lot about GameStop, AMC, and how we were actually having a Robinhood moment. Remember that? And not Robinhood like the brokerage account that rips people off. I'm talking about a true Robinhood moment where we were a band of merry people going after these big, huge investors, steal from these crooks, give to the average man.
How'd that work out?
Well, Spencer Jakab's going to walk us through it. And don't want to spoil the ending, but it might not be what you think it is. Fascinating read on the topic. We're going to explore a lot of that today. But first, Doug, I think you got some trivia for us, right?
I do have trivia, Joe. Let's get after it. Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. I'm thinking I should start a column like Spencer's called Overheard in the Basement. Things like, does your parole officer know you're here? And why is my finger so spicy? You know what I just overheard on the street? That there's not going to be enough money for my Social Security. You know, because I'm such a young person. And what the heck? On today, of all days, which is National Appreciate Your Social Security Check Day, if you do appreciate your Social Security check, who should you thank? Hey, that's a good trivia question. Which president signed the Social Security check into law? Was it Franklin Pierce, FDR, or good old Donnie Trump? I'll be right back with the answer after I check my benefits calculator at ssa.gov to see if I can afford the massage chair that vibrates.
I had a breakfast mentoring meeting yesterday with a young woman who was just amazing. She is graduating from college with a degree in wealth management, and she reached out hoping for some pointers. And listen, if somebody's in Texarkana and wants to go into this beautiful field of personal finance and helping people get their money together, that is incredible. But even more incredible is how she reached out, how she was trying to network. And I was having a discussion that finding the right person and avoiding the wrong person for a role, that's what can make or break an organization. And we just don't see that many qualified people. So how do you find them? Well, Indeed sponsored jobs is a boost whenever you need to find quality talent. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. You can stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. You'll match with quality candidates with Indeed's sponsored jobs. Get matched with and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Reach candidates who meet your specific criteria like skills, certifications, or location. It drives me crazy when I'm matched with all kinds of people who aren't a fit. I don't have that kind of time. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored job. And here's what's cool, stackers. You're going to get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Stacking Benjamins by saying you heard about Indeed right here at Stacking Benjamins. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Hey, Stackers, if messing around during the holiday season messed with your money, well, then it's time to take back control, because we are now about a 12th of the way through the year, aren't we? Navy Federal Credit Union can help you take control of your finances over the holidays. They have multiple savings and investing options to help you get closer to your financial goals. One option people like is their low intro APR on their Platinum credit card. Now, a credit card is not going to help you get out of debt, but the low interest rate and balance transfer can help you pay less interest to the man while you are climbing out of debt. It's their lowest rate card, and it is a great tool to help you pay down debt faster. They also offer digital tools and educational resources to help guide your decisions. With Navy Federal, you can automate your savings and investing to put your money work for you even as you sleep. Plus, you can buy fractional shares. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Message and data rates may apply. Savings products insured by NCUA. Investment options are available through Navy Federal Investment Services and are not insured by NCUA.
Hey there, Stackers. I'm basement eavesdrop artist and personal massage chair shopper, Joe's mom's neighbor Doug. In addition to several provisions for general welfare, the new act created a social insurance program designed to pay retired workers age 65 or older a continuing income after retirement. So who signed it into place? Well, on August 14th, 1935, and even though I just told you the date, you still don't know if it's Pierce or Roosevelt, do you? You have no clue. Anywho, the Social Security Act was signed into law by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, commonly known as FDR. I like this FDR thing. Let's try this. I'm JMND, inviting you to sit back and hear the story of how GameStop and all the meme stocks maybe didn't happen the way you thought, with Joe and the Wall Street Journal's Spencer Jakab.
And we're so happy he's here with us to talk about a revolution that's maybe different than you think it is. Spencer Jakab joins us. How are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are such fans of your work here, and it is just a delight that we get to talk to you. But this is about a topic that was something, my brother-in-law was in on this. He was in on the Wall Street Bets Forum. He, at one point, had I think the correct number is $1 bajillion. And then if you
how many zeros is that? I keep forgetting.
But then he lost a bunch of money afterwards. He was very furious at Robinhood. But your personal story, I think, is really incredible. Your personal story doesn't start with you and the work you do. It actually starts with your two sons. Can you tell me about that?
Yep. I have three sons. One of them will have nothing to do with this, but two of them are on Reddit all the time. And my oldest boy, so he was a senior in college at the time. This is January 25th, 2021, kind of the few hours before the media kind of picked up that this craziness was happening with GameStop mania. He's like, "Hey, Dad, are you going to write about GameStop?" He was home because of COVID, and I was home because of COVID. And I was like, "Why would I write about that?" Well, my friend bought the stock, and you see it's going up. And like, I checked it out, and I said, "Yeah, like I've seen a lot of these things go up because Wall Street Bets mentions it." But I advised him to sell soon. He said, no, he's not going to sell, which piqued my curiosity. So I started reading through the board, and I saw that like this was a squeeze or a corner really in the making by all these people on the board, which was something completely different. Obviously, it's not just that these stocks went up a lot. It's just what they tried to do, that they temporarily completely ambushed these hedge funds, and they lost billions of dollars, and that was really the intent. That was job one. Job two was making money. Job one was making other people lose money. Within hours, a publisher was interested in me writing a book about it. Basically, like it was clearly a pretty big deal.
Well, but you looked at it almost from the beginning as something different than a lot of people did. I mean, most people, as you know, my brother-in-law was, hey, we're sticking it to the man. We are sticking it to the hedge funds. We're showing Wall Street, Spencer, who's in charge.
So how about sticking it to McDonald's this way? Here's an analogy. I hate McDonald's. How about everybody in the country that's on this board, like 8 million people, 10 million, we'll all go to McDonald's at the same time. All order a Big Mac at the same time. And then those guys are going to run out of Big Macs. and they'll be in such huge trouble, right? That's kind of what they did. I mean,
we'll buy so much of what you're offering that you're in super
you
trouble.
Can't sell any more of it. Ha. And they're going to have to hang up a sign and say no Big Macs at every McDonald's in the country. And won't they be in trouble? I mean, the thing is, Wall Street is a big place. There were a few people on Wall Street who lost a lot of money. And there were a lot of people on Wall Street who made a lot of money. And on balance, that week and that month and really the whole 8 or 9 months leading up to it, when you had this explosion in retail trading, was a great time for Wall Street. It was a great time for brokers, great time for the people who process their trades, especially. It was a great time for hedge funds, for investment banks. You know, if you don't like Wall Street, and I get it why there are young people who don't like Wall Street, giving them a bunch of money is not really a way to hurt them. You know, it hurt a couple of people in particular. And there are like these kind of conspiracy theories about like, oh, well, you know, we're going to bankrupt them. And we're, you know, there's like second and third and fourth and fifth iterations of this still going on today, that there are phantom shorts and we're going to show them. And there's going to be the mother of all short squeezes. And it's like, no, there isn't. And you're not, especially not just investing, but like investing in a really active, reckless way is really profitable for some people on Wall Street who you might not like, by the way. Well,
you talk about that, Jack Bogle, before this, Wall Street really had a problem. You write that Jack Bogle and Vanguard and others in the community had convinced people that, you know, index fund investing is the way to go. And trading seemed to be something that people didn't want to do. So this kind of helped Wall Street solve a problem.
Yeah, you had two things. You had that going on. People basically had seen that paying Wall Street a lot of money for returns that they weren't really going to get you, that they sort of, you know, wrapped up in a lot of mumbo jumbo, was not the way to go. And so Wall Street had a problem. And it was this technology and this competition that made all that possible, right? But the same technology and competition made Robinhood possible. It made $0 commissions possible. It made this frenzy of trading possible. All of a sudden, you had this app in your hand. You could trade, you know, I'm putting that in quotation marks, free. You could trade as much as you want. It was this fun game. You got the information right away. You had all these people on social media who'd kind of tell you what to do. And it was like this kind of golden era, but it wasn't. I mean, the technology that made it possible to really beat Wall Street, which is just to kind of pay them as little as possible and engage with them as little as possible, also made it possible for this just crazy wave of speculation, right? And the other thing that was happening was that young people were not really into finance until a few years before the story begins. They were not into even opening 401ks when they had jobs that had them. They were not into saving money. And all of a sudden, you had more than 10 million young people get in and open accounts, which would be a good thing if they did it in a different way, right? Not this way.
But you know, it's funny, Spencer, I didn't plan to ask you this, but I kind of have a hypothesis about this, that even though, you know, you build a phenomenal argument that this is the wrong way to invest, that, you know, Vegas, I love your line that Vegas has noises when people win big for a reason, right? I mean, Vegas is still going to win, but they make sure that, you know, when somebody, hey, did the wrong thing and bet a bunch of money and quote won big, and they're probably going to give it back before the night's over. But when I was 20, I was interested in buying a bunch of stuff. I had no interest in stocks. You talk about your sons, and maybe it's the wrong approach at first, but it seems to me that after getting their butt kicked a little bit, they're far more familiar with it by the time they reach 25, 30 than I certainly was. Is this still a good thing, or is this a bad thing that they learn? So many people learn to trade in the wrong way.
You know, it depends, right? Because, you know, one of the guys I spoke to for the book runs a robo-advisor called Betterment. And he was telling me all these stories about, you know, he's an Ivy League educated guy, you know, took economics, and he invested in Enron right before it went bankrupt and did other pretty dumb stuff too. So I guess that's true, right? You're going to make some mistakes, and that tuition is going to be kind of painful and kind of expensive, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. So some people are going to see that this is probably not the way to go. They have an account open already. They know, you know, what a stock ticker is, and they have some idea about finance, and they're going to do it. And I think unfortunately, it's going to be a minority of young people who do that. There are going to be some people for whom it's a much more expensive lesson, right? Because the lesson that they're going to get is that Wall Street is rigged and crooked, and that's the reason that I lost money. Not because I did dumb stuff, but because Wall Street is rigged and crooked. I'm not going to engage with it, and I'm going to just put money in the bank or not save money at all. And, you know, over the next 40 years of their lives, that's going to cost them a huge potential amount of money, right? And then there's some small minority of people who are bitter and just going to keep plowing money into this stuff for a while. Like people who are buying all these
gambling,
out of the money
like a gambling addiction.
Yeah. They say that 3 to 4% of people who enter a casino and spend any amount of time there will develop a problem gambling habit. That's a remarkably high percentage. And I think that it's not very different, especially if you look at these smartphone apps, and they're not going to go away. You can't force them to make them less interesting. They're very, very similar to gambling apps. I mean, for a reason, I think, is because they trigger the same emotions. They trigger the same FOMO. They trigger the same kind of near miss effect where, like, the slot machine, oh, if that cherry had just been one bar lower, I would have hit the jackpot. Like, that's what they want you to think, that it was like a really close call. And all those psychological biases kind of keep you in the casino. And there's no clock either. Free drinks. There's no free drinks in the stock market, unfortunately, right? That's you can see all the psychological underpinnings are there for people who are going to be vulnerable to it. And some people just chemically are.
Let's dive in the way that you dive in chapter 1 to this with the congressional investigation and kind of work backwards. And I think just for today, Spencer, we just introduce people to the players and what was going on. And then you dive way, way deeper into this than we can. And it's so flippin' fascinating, to put it bluntly. But let's start off with the congressional investigation. How many people that were at this congressional hearing, how many of these people broke a law? Nobody
broke a law. Not a single person broke a law. As far as I can tell, obviously things might emerge in the future. Nobody broke a law, but there was outrage. The day that the congressional hearings were called was the day that Robinhood said, we have to restrict trading in this handful of stocks that everyone's been buying. Sorry. They didn't explain really why very well initially, and they just got raked over the coals. And they were suddenly seen as colluding with hedge funds and trying to save them. And that's certainly what it looks like, right? Because, the story was that these traders were giving Wall Street a black eye, that they were going to bankrupt these hedge funds. And then they kind of got thrown a lifeline because their main broker, the broker that more of them used than anybody else, wouldn't allow them to buy the stocks. They could sell, but not buy.
So it truly was not Robinhood's fault.
You know what? It was Robinhood's fault because they did their job too well. They got people too excited. They stoked the fire too much, and they just weren't prepared for the wave because it broke. I mean, I don't want to kind of get into the whole geeky reasons behind, but there's a reason that they had to come up with a tremendous amount of money that they never could have come up with unless they did this, like $3 billion. And they would have been out of business, and they would have caused a cascade of losses across the whole industry. So they had to do this, but it's their fault. They stoked it. They saw what they were doing. They just stoked it too much. They were too successful. Somebody had a great way of putting it. He said, Robinhood, Robinhooded Robinhood. That's kind of what they did, right? I mean, I think Packy McCormick is the man who gets credit for that. I think that's a fantastic way of putting it. And so they didn't break the law, but it's kind of their fault. Yeah.
We'll get back to Vladimir Tenev because he was there that day, but let's start where you begin with Keith Gill. Who is Keith Gill, and how does he figure into all of this?
Well, he is the most fascinating and most sympathetic character in this whole story. Keith Gill is a guy, he was 34 years old at the time this hearing was called. It was called, to testify in Washington, had not done anything wrong as far as I'm concerned. He was basically out there on social media and then later on YouTube touting his position in Gamestop. He took this incredibly risky but far-sighted bet on Gamestop, where he put, he's not a rich man, put $53,000 of his own money into call options, really risky, long-dated call options on Gamestop. Because
and this, by the way, not to interrupt, Spencer, but this is long before, this is September of 2019.
Yeah. And it's so funny because you look back at the post that he was making there, and he's making these very sober arguments. And then at one point he had doubled his money, and people are like, well, dude, sell. And he's like, no, that would be whatever. And, people are like, you're an idiot. You're going to lose all your money. They were making fun of him. The few people who engaged with him were making fun of him. Right. And then somebody said, went back later and amended their comment and said, well, this aged like a glass of milk in the Mojave Desert in the middle of July. Right. I mean, there was, because then when we get almost to the time the story gets really exciting, all of a sudden people noticed all these posts he had made about GameStop, and the short squeeze looked like it was going to happen. And then he became the hero because he had been holding all this time. And he changed his message from being cerebral, which, as we know, doesn't get any response on social media if you're cerebral and well-reasoned. And he just posted memes and started posting pictures of his E-Trade account, which grew and grew. He made 1,000 times his money at one point. I mean, and he wouldn't sell, which was just so ballsy, right? And so that got him the respect of this community. And so he became kind of the Pied Piper by accident, even though he had been touting the stock all along. He was a hero. And it was ridiculous for him to have to testify. But of course, that's why people tuned in, because everyone wanted to see and hear him.
The place where he was doing this was on Reddit and the Wall Street Bets forum. You also mentioned that Steve Huffman was there from Reddit. I love some of the quotes, Spencer, that you have from Steve from that day, because he's very blunt about what Reddit is and what Reddit is not.
You know, I like Reddit, you know, as a service, and there's a reason my sons are on it. It's a great, fun community. It's different than other social media in some key ways. Can be very useful, but he was a little arrogant. And I think a lot of people in Silicon Valley tend to be arrogant because it's kind of this move fast and break things culture. And he's like, no, I think, you know, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong necessarily, but, you know, a lot of these forums do say bad things and do bad things and get people to do bad things. Right. And he wouldn't admit that. And he actually took the opposite tack. He said, I think the advice that you get on Wall Street Bets is as good or better than anything you'll hear, you know, from professionals. Like, no, it's not, you know, it's not like, you know, the people who you're most likely to hear from on social media are not the best informed. Joe, let's say you went and posted something, and I know you're a very well-informed guy and you know a lot about personal finance, and you put something about personal finance on Reddit that was well-reasoned and whatever, and don't put more than 5% of your money in yada, yada, and diversify, right? And then somebody else said, put 150% of your money into crypto and, you know, YOLO bet it, right? Whose post is going to rise to the top? Whose post is going to be upvoted? Not yours.
Not mine.
Yours is not going to be visible, and that post is going to be really visible because it's crazy. That's what social media is. You have the kind of the most kind of extreme, and then it's a third person who doesn't know anything, who's totally like, well, I want to invest my money. They're not going to see your post, Joe. They're going to see that other post, and they're going to say, well, I came to this forum, and this is supposedly where they talk about investing. I guess maybe I should do that because that's what everybody seems to be talking about, right? So, no, I don't think that it's a good influence at all. I mean, I think he should at least admit that. I don't think it's his fault, but you know, he's not blameless either, right? I mean, it's not a good place to find out how to invest. I'm sorry, it isn't. You know?
It's not like having a well-reasoned person sitting next to you telling you what to buy and not buy.
No,
something totally.
Folks, listen to this podcast to find out how to manage your finances, and others like it.
I don't know about that. We are still in mom's basement, so who knows? Okay. Maybe someday we'll be that. You know, it's funny because we give Robinhood a bunch of crap all the time, which makes me love the name Robinhood because there's nothing about that app to me that is take from the rich and give to the poor. I don't know that app has anything to do with that. But what I get some pushback from people about is they're like, why do you pick on Robinhood so much? Because they're pretty new. Robinhood's not new, Spencer. And you write about, I mean, Robinhood, what, 2012, 2013, about the same time as Reddit?
Yeah, 2013 as Wall Street Bet, within a year of Wall Street Bets being started as a forum. Reddit started a few years before that. But yeah, Wall Street Bets got started around the same time. They grew hand in hand. They grew in tandem. And Robinhood, so they got started in 2013. They launched in 2015. They had a huge waiting list. Lots of people, because the app is so beautiful and so intuitive, they had a huge waiting list. 1 out of every 2 brokerage accounts opened in the US over a 5-year period was opened with them. So they got big pretty quickly. They weren't big because they got big in terms of the number of accounts, but the median account had $240 in it, which is not a lot of money compared to, putting it mildly, compared to Schwab or Fidelity, right? So it was like the small money people, but that's their audience. That's their tribe. The people who put $50 or $100 into an account and, you know, going to want to see what happens and want to have some fun. So they're not talking to their wealth planners and having whatever and buying value-added services. That's not what Robinhood. The way they make money is you trade. 80% of their money in 2020, which was a great year for them, was selling your orders to market makers. The more business you did, the more they made.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. You said earlier in this interview, and you also say in the book that the app is free, but you said today, you're like, I say this in quotes, free. You write in the book in quotes, free. How is Robinhood in quotes free and not just free without those quotes?
It's the same way that your Facebook page is in quotes free, right? If something is free, then you're the product. You know, if all the pictures of your kids and all the things you click on and whatever, and all the information and your birthday and all that stuff and your demographic information is very useful to Facebook, even though they don't charge you anything for it. And all the trading that you do on Robinhood is useful to them. And so their incentive is to get you to trade as much as possible. And they have a number of ways to do that. And I would say that, I mean, of course, there's some subset of Robinhood customers that are kind of free riders. I would encourage you to be a free rider on a service like Robinhood. Go in, check it very infrequently, trade very infrequently, buy, index funds or index mutual funds, things like that is what I would recommend, or some broad portfolio. Don't mess with it. But some subset of their investors is hyper active, and they make money every time they trade, every time they buy, every time they sell. They make some fractions of a penny off of that because they sell it. And they induce you to sell by saying, hey, here's what's trending. Here are people, these are what people are talking about. Here are the stocks that are up. Well, is that helpful information? It's kind of, yeah, but it's there to induce FOMO, right? By showing you what everybody else is doing. Young people especially kind of want to see why they're doing it, and oh, this is up a lot, this is down a lot, I better do something, right? That's the name of the game. And hey, here's some random confetti. They discontinued that after being sued, but here's some confetti. Here's a free share of stock for opening an account. Oh, did you get a friend to open an account? Here's a free share of stock for that, you again, and for them. And oh, what stock? Well, it could be a $5 stock, but it could be a $50 stock. Isn't that a nice lottery ticket? Right? So there's a lot of clever marketing that goes into it that gets you to do what they need you to do, which is to trade a lot. And every study done on the subject, every single study, the more often you check your account, the more often you trade, the worse you do, the worse your results are. Of course, individual results will vary, but statistically, you are hurting yourself.
They talk a lot about democratizing trading. And you write that one congressperson at the hearing said, there's an innate tension in your business model between democratizing finance, which is a noble calling, and being a conduit to feed fish to sharks. Yeah. What is this idea of democratizing trading? What does that really mean? And not just marketing lingo.
Listen, I mean, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, that was the best quote by anybody. That was I think the wisest quote in that hearing. Sean Casten, representative from Illinois, good on you. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger went out. They have nothing to gain by bashing Robinhood. Who cares, right? They're, both men in their 90s. They've given some great financial advice, and they said, this is like racetrack betting. I hope there's not more of it. And, and Robinhood came out and attacked these guys and said, well, they just want, they're like at the top of the food chain and they don't want people to be able to achieve the same success. Like, what? That's a very, very convenient argument for them to say, to wrap themselves in mom and apple pie and the American flag and say, we're democratizing finance and you're just trying to keep people from getting on the ladder. I think that the financial services industry loves to see people get on the ladder, but it loves to see people do dumb stuff and pay them a lot of money. That's what it likes. It doesn't want people to get on the ladder and then just do the smart thing, which is just to get the most out of it and put the least into it. That really, really bothers me. And at the same time, like when Facebook and whatever, they say, well, it's First Amendment and, we're doing our best. And when there were like, people trying to subvert elections and give misinformation about all kinds of things and lying and fake news, and then they're kind of defending themselves and wrapping themselves in the First Amendment. Come on. I mean, it's a big business for you. It costs a lot of money to monitor this stuff and you don't want to monitor it. And some of it goes viral and you like that. Just admit it, right? I mean, it's the same thing.
I've got two more people I want to ask you about, and I'm going to lump them together because we kind of see these people as, I guess, collectively Darth Vader in this story, which is Gabriel Plotkin and Ken Griffin. Tell me about these two gentlemen.
So Gabe Plotkin is the big loser in this story. Gabe Plotkin was a very successful, one of the most successful hedge fund managers, and he had the misfortune of having a very large short position. A short position is a position where instead of your gains being unlimited, like in a normal stock, his losses were unlimited. And he never expected GameStop to go from $2 and change to $483.
He thought like a lot of us, Spencer, that GameStop was going to fail. I mean, you point out their business model at the time was horrible. Nobody's buying discs. If I want to get on my Xbox and buy a video game, I can just click a button.
That's right. That's right. GameStop was like Blockbuster 3 years before Blockbuster went bust. That's kind of what it was. And that's why he was so comfortable betting against it. But he and other people on Wall Street kind of walked into a trap because they were too heavily short. They basically had left themselves exposed and they just never imagined that this would happen. So that's on him. I mean, who could have seen this coming? But I mean, you go back and there were signs he was being talked about specifically. His fund was being talked about. They should have kind of taken some chips off the table, but they didn't. Oh, well, they lost $6 billion. He didn't do anything bad, but short sellers were a really vital part of the ecosystem, by the way, of finance. Okay. So they get a bad rap. He's not exclusively a short seller. He likes it when the stock market goes up, like most of us do, right? I mean, but this is just part of his strategy. It's a little part of his strategy, but it gave him a huge loss, lost more than half his investors' money. Like Ken Griffin is on both sides of the story because Ken Griffin runs one of the largest, most successful hedge funds, and that's called Citadel. But then he has a company called Citadel Securities that he's the major shareholder of. that is the largest processor of these trades. So instead of Robinhood's trades going to a stock market where they get filled and that's it, that's one of the firms that pays Robinhood money for them sending them your trades. He was, he's like kind of been turned into this villain. I mean, he also did not do anything wrong. There are all these allegations that he lied, that he intervened, that he did it to save his hedge funds, that he was really the guy behind trading being halted, and it looks bad because he gave a bunch of money to Gabe Plotkin when his fund took a big hit. He processed these trades. There were some communications between people at Robinhood and Citadel Securities, right? I think they probably talk every day, but right. There was some, look, it's a smoking gun. He intervened. No, why? First of all, why would he intervene? Business was like going gangbusters that week. Business was fantastic for his firm, both of his firms, right? Why would he throw a wrench into the machine and stop it? Think about the incentives there. Like, it just makes no sense. But this is the funniest thing ever, and it happened too late, unfortunately, to make it into my book. There's a lot of stuff in the book. This was too late, so I'm just going to tell you here. Is then, of course, then all this stuff morphed into crypto, right? And there was this group called Constitution DAO that tried to buy a copy of the Constitution. Like, oh my God, I almost choked laughing so hard when this came out, right? And then they raised all this money, but of course they didn't really think about what if somebody outbid them, right? They raised all this money to buy a copy of the Constitution and then tokenize it or whatever the hell they do. And then they were outbid by somebody. Oh, some rich person outbid them. Now, giving the money back, you basically the transaction fees are so high that getting your money back is just almost impossible through this thing. Oops. Meanwhile, then it turned out who bought it was Ken Griffin.
Ken Griffin, yeah.
Bought the Constitution.
I think I read that, by the way, initially from you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was, you can't make this up, right? There's a lot of stuff you can't make up. Truth is really stranger than fiction sometimes. So yeah, that
I felt like at the time, and I don't know if there's any truth to this, I certainly felt at the time when they got outbid by him, that it was him kind of giving them the finger.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to say, yeah. And Steve Cohen, who's the majority owner of the Mets, who also gave Gabe Plotkin some money. Gabe Plotkin used to work for him. Also, he had to go off of Twitter for a while because he was getting attacked. But he was he was kind of taunting them during the week when things kind of took a turn for the worse. Hey, tough trading out there, guys, and you don't do that. You don't taunt these people on social media, And he's
yeah.
But yeah, so I think he did it on purpose. It was funny.
You make a point. I think that it sounds like this isn't going to happen again to Wall Street traders. Like Wall Street traders, they learn quickly, right? I mean, these people are pros for a reason. Is it possible for them to be blindsided in this way again?
I mean, of course anything's possible, right? And I think that you've seen the second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth attempt to do this with different stocks. Let's all buy, let's not hold, diamond hands, don't sell. And they see you coming, right? They have written software that uses natural language processing, that reads Reddit and even listens to videos on TikTok and YouTube faster than you can and interprets them for what they are and then weeds out the fake stuff. And they have a red light, go off in their bat cave when you're trying to do this. Okay. So I don't think, and I recently saw a stat that 85% of hedge funds subscribe to services like this. I've spoken to people who are like, yeah, I get a whole report every day.
It just reminds me, by the way, Spencer, I had to take at one point a defensive driving class because I had too many speeding tickets. And when I did that, I learned all this fascinating stuff about police officers. And what I learned was, even if they're busy doing something else in their car, they have noises that tell them when somebody's going over the speed limit. It's already set. So it's kind of like your Batcave analogy that you drive by a police car and you're speeding and you think you got away with something and they didn't notice you. The police officer who was leading this course said they noticed you. They just had something more important than you to do, which is kind of the way I feel about this. When I was reading you talking about this, about these algorithms, these software, now, if you think you're getting one over on Wall Street, no, they see you. They probably just have a bigger fish than you.
Yeah. And listen, to be clear, these hedge fund guys, they're smart, but they're not that smart, right? I mean, most years, hedge funds can't even beat the S&P 500 as a group, right? So they're very, very smart guys, but their brain power kind of cancels each other out. And they're more worried about retail than they used to be, but they're not very worried about retail. You go on these message boards and they're like, this is an epic battle to the end and we shall smite them and whatever for this stock that's like a failing theater chain. And the hedge funds don't care. There are thousands of stocks. There are other things they invest in. They are not watching. Their people are, I guess, they're interns, and their computers are reading your message board. They do not care. Your funny meme is not, not making them cry. It's like they've got bigger fish to fry, and they have to worry about each other.
Every Redditor that I talk to when they do a project like this, Spencer, they have an aha during it. Well, not everyone, but mostly. There's some aha. There's something they learned. There's something that surprised them that they didn't expect. What didn't you expect while you were writing this? What surprised you while writing it?
The most shocking thing to me was how Wall Street rewards recklessness. I already kind of knew that like, if you trade a lot, if you do wild things, then you're not likely to do that well, and your loss is someone else's gain. But they explicitly reward it. Like if you look at brokers that have clients that are inexperienced, that don't use limit orders, that buy stocks with high spreads and trade frequently and buy a lot of options, those brokers get paid more for their trades, right? So they're explicitly saying, oh, we like your clients. Yeah. Let's keep that coming. That should tell you everything, right?
Yeah. What else is there to say? I think that's it. The book is The Revolution That Wasn't. It was a fantastic read. I flew through this book just because I couldn't put it down. My wife kept asking me. She says, she's like, are you, well, I won't even get into it, but there's so many phenomenal stories here. Books available everywhere. Thanks a ton. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, I'm Mr. Wow.
And I'm Mrs. Wow from Waffles on Wednesday.
And when we're not eating waffles,
we're stacking Benjamins.
Big thanks to Spencer Jakab for sharing a little bit of that story, OG. And like anything, there's what you're thinking is the truth at the time. And there's a little more behind the curtain going on than we thought.
As there always is.
Always is. I'm listening to a book right now on Audible called Business Adventures. And it goes through the last corner on the market before they became illegal. It's the guy who owned Piggly Wiggly, who's really just trying to save his company out of Memphis. And for people that haven't heard this, and by the way, Business Adventures is a bunch of business stories, largely from the 50s, that still are applicable today. It starts off with the story of the Ford Edsel, which is just a phenomenal story. And then dives into so many different things. HP printers, that's from the 60s, HP printers. But the story about this guy trying to save his company, super frustrating to watch how the Lords of Wall Street, OG, when things aren't going their way, shocker, they find a way to change the rules.
Weird.
Yeah.
I want to do it different.
Yeah. Hey, looks like a little guy might be winning. We're going to change things slightly. But in this case, I think the little guy often out there thinks that they won, and some others along for the ride. Hey, let's throw out the Haven Lifeline. Tackle some of life's most important questions. Our friends at Haven Life Insurance Agency, they put what you value first, Doug.
I got nothing, Joe.
Chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot pie and a cup of Java.
It's a great breakfast. Breakfast of champions.
Not sure how that works with the medical exam, but the cool thing is that with Haven Life, you're able to spend more time with your loved ones because of the fact that their application is simple. It's online. Prices are affordable. Get an instant coverage decision. Not all that waiting. Not tons of questions they already know the answer to. stackingbenjamins.com/havenlife. The best thing, OG, you finally get this done, right? So many people out there know that they need to get their life insurance in place. Let's get it rolling, peeps. Today, we're going to throw out the lifeline to our friend Sarah. Say hi, Sarah.
Hi, Joe and OG. This is Sarah from Richmond, Virginia. I called a while back, and I definitely wouldn't want to ruin your reputation with the other listener by implying that I learned anything. So I'll just say I've been working out a lot at the gym, and it's time for that double XL t-shirt. Anyways, my question is this. In my job at work, I've been assigned a role to help some individuals with some very fundamental aspects of finance. Some of these individuals are unbanked, and one of the first lessons I want to talk about is opening a checking account. I'm less concerned about finding something with a high interest rate and more interested in finding banks with accounts that don't have minimum balance requirements or direct deposit requirements in order to avoid fees. These individuals do not necessarily have high incomes, and some of them struggle a little bit with technology. So online banks are not necessarily the best option. What would you suggest? Should I look at local credit unions? Should I consider big banks and try to find accounts that don't have fees or requirements? Does that even exist? I'd love to hear your thoughts and look forward to my XXL t-shirt. Bye.
Wow.
Sun's out, guns out, Sarah. Sounds like Sarah's been really working out. Congratulations. Sarah bragging about the gym, a little nice flex there. But you know what, Sarah? We're just going to send you a code so you can just brag to all your friends about the badass swag that you got from the Stacking Benjamin show, whatever size you want. Oh, gee, there's some good news here for Sarah, because I know that even some of the big banks lately have begun waiving this very onerous overdraft fee. Like I've seen this in the news a lot the last 3 weeks, which is surprising and about flipping time.
Yeah, I think that some of those kind of nuisance things are going away. The problem that I think that Sarah's going to run into here is kind of the best of both worlds. I want to be able to go to the bank and take advantage of all the services of the in-person stuff without paying any costs associated with that. The reason that there's such a change to online and you're seeing more and more banks getting rid of fees associated with monthly account minimums and that sort of thing is because the cost structure of being online is a lot different. And so if you can't use the technology side of it, you're going to run into an issue of, a per check cashing fee or, a $10 monthly service fee just for not having direct deposit or something like that in the vast majority of cases. Even the credit union that we belong to has, I don't know, $7 or something like that a month for their banking, relationship if you don't have direct deposit. So I don't think that you can do both. I think you have to adopt one of those things. You either have to say like, well, we're going to take advantage of the technology. So we're going to use mobile deposit and we're going to find a bank that is online. Then I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Or it's going to be, I think, quite an uphill battle to search through, whatever's in your area to find a branch that is willing to get rid of all of those extra costs, because you're going to be taking advantage of the in-person stuff, the stuff that we're trying to get rid of. If they want to still support it, that's totally fine, but it's got to cost something, and usually they do that in minimum balances or something. So
and I got to amend what I said. Bank of America did not get rid of their fees. They trimmed them from 35 to 10. Their overdraft fees. They eliminated non-sufficient fund fees along with fees for a program that lets customers automatically transfer money from one account to another to cover overdrafts. They were going to charge you for that.
Yeah, that was the $35
Yeah. Wells Fargo the same day said that it would ease up on fees by eliminating NSF fees and transfer fees and give customers a one-day grace period to avoid the overdraft. And Chase, the nation's largest bank, said in December it would add a one-day grace period to avoid overdraft fees and also provide customers earlier access to money they get via direct deposit. Online banks, to your point, OG, largely have gotten rid of a lot of those already. And there's a lot of exciting options.
I know this is a topic. I'm maybe giving a spoiler alert for Friday's show. There's some banking discussion going on, but the stuff that drives me crazy is how if you go to deposit your check, they're like, yeah, cool, you can have the money in 2 days. It's like 2 days. The money, if I write a check from myself to myself in one, from one account to another, I can see it leave the account that night. You know what I mean? I can send my brother $10,000 on Apple Pay in 4 seconds. Like, why in the heck can't I transfer money from one bank to another without it taking 2 freaking days? And the reason for that is because if they that extra 1 day, hold on to your money without letting you use it, that extra 1 day multiplied by 30 million customers, multiplied by all the transactions that happen, gets Bank of America or whatever bank that extra little bit of margin every single day. And
OG, that is part of the reason. Another part of that, the reason why, hey, I can transfer money between my accounts and I can see it immediately, or I can transfer money to a friend of mine and I can see that it's there. But to actually do the transfer of funds, it's such a high level of data processing that they need to do that at night to allow for their systems to handle the volume of data and transactions that's happening during the daytime for their call it retail customers. They have to hold some of that to process overnight. So that is part of the reason why a lot of that happens, at least with 1 day. Now, why they need 2 days, I think that what you just said, I think, factors in. But there is a reason for the overnight. It has to do with their ability to process all of those transactions and not impact their daytime.
Well,
retail.
25 years ago, when you were writing a check, you had to physically deliver the check to the bank. I mean, that was the old school way of doing it. So yeah, it would take, remember when you could like write a check for your water bill and be like, I've got till Monday to get that money in there, you know, because you knew it took so long for the bank to process literally process the check. And then in the mid 2000s, they came out with the ability to, you didn't have to actually physically present the check to the receiving institution or paying institution to get funds. You could do it electronically. To your point, Doug, now the processing power went up a bajillion fold, but nevertheless, it doesn't have to be 2 days. It doesn't have to be 3.
It doesn't have to be.
It can
Correct.
be, at worst, it can be overnight. And I might throw a little bit of shade on your processing power because
I totally would.
My God, if
we can front run trades.
No. But it's not. It's not about the power of the CPU. Let's say it has to do with what has to go. They have to batch up all of those transactions in a way that the receiving bank needs to have them. And can you do that instantly and on each and every transaction? Yes, you can. But you also have millions and millions and millions of other transactions that are happening during the day that do need to be more real time, or that their expectation is that they are more real time, whether it's actual retail stores or business to business and other transactions that need to happen or that they want to have happen immediately during the day. There is extra steps that need to go on from a data perspective to package that data up in the way so that Bank of America can package it in a way to send it to another bank in the way that they need to receive it. That it's not about the CPU power. It's about all of the effort and massaging that has to happen
so that the other bank can rearrange those in a way so they can maximize the overdraft expense for the customer. That's exactly what happens in my bank.
Look, I'm not trying to defend them. Don't get me wrong here. I'm just saying there's more to it than just the nefarious, we want to make a couple extra bucks off you. It's in there. I totally agree that that's baked in, but there's also some more tedious.
And there's no incentive to fix it.
There is no incentive to fix it.
There's incentive to make sure your commodity trader on the 17th floor can have, fiber optic trading powers to make an extra penny per trade.
Absolutely.
Instantaneously. Yeah. But there's no incentive to make sure that Doug's check to OG is cashed in a reasonable time to make it so that OG doesn't overdraft.
Once again, OG has gotten to the bottom of this. I think that's an excellent point. Is the capability is there. There's just not the motivation.
But I think the lesson here, Sarah, is it's not about the name of the bank. It's about the questions that you need to ask about what are the fees on these different types of transactions. What's the usability? How easy is it to use? I'm with you on credit unions. Obviously, we like credit unions. That's why Navy Federal is a sponsor of the show, is because we really like credit unions and the value add that they give to their, not just their members, but if you know how credit unions work, they're also owners. So I'm a big fan there as well. But I think it's mostly, OG, about the questions you ask.
Yeah, there would be one other thing that I would mention, which would be to say you might be able to create a program on your own. If it's a big enough group, and go to a community bank or go to the credit union and say, hey, our organization is trying to do this thing and we need your help with it. Can you create a program that's special for our organization?
That's a good idea to help teach people. Yeah.
And there might be something that a local community bank or credit union might be interested in.
Yeah, imagine the upside for them as well. That helps everybody. Thanks for that question. If you've got a question for us, head to stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail, and you'll leave your email there so that Gertrude can also send you whatever size shirt you want, made by our good friend Brad, who I'm sporting actually from our store, stackingbenjamins.com/store, the mug today for the From the Basement 50s show with OG, that lovable scamp. I think it's my favorite part of that one.
Is there anything obscene on the bottom of that mug?
There is nothing. We should put a little like something on the bottom of the mug though.
That's disappointing.
That'd be as if we do things like have hidden tracks on shows, but we don't do any of that. So
that's not us.
No. All right, that's gonna do it for today. Hey, last but not least, once again, you've got just over a week to get in on our referral contest for the 201. Stackingbenjamins.com/201 for that. We're hitting the road starting March 1st. More dates announced, where we're going to be, what time we're going to be there. 40 cities across the U.S. Hopefully you can come hang out with us. stackingbenjamins.com/stacked. We'll give you tour information and more. And last, but mostly not least, if you need none of that, you just need to make better decisions. Think bigger about your goals. Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG because he and his team are taking clients, and that'll lead you to his team's calendar so that you can get that process started. Coming up on Wednesday, our great friend Nicole Lappin is back. Love Nicole Lappin. I always laugh. I'm laughing now just thinking about Nicole coming. She's always got so much great stuff to say. She always busts through a lot of the jargon and the crap in the financial industry. Just a delightful person to talk to. That's on Wednesday's show. But Doug, you got it from here, man. What should we have learned today?
Well, Joe, I'll tell everybody what they should have learned today. First, NFTs and crypto are not some kind of Willy Wonka magical machine that makes you free money, but thanks anyway, TikTok pseudo-math guru guy. Second, just because something is new and sounds fantastic doesn't mean it is, unless you're Pete Davidson and you got a new girlfriend. But the big lesson? If you want to retire in the big boy chair that has a setting called The Big One, you got to take responsibility for your own future. And you can do it. Thanks to Spencer Jakab for being with us today. His book, The Revolution That Wasn't, is available everywhere, but only if you're spending real hard dollars. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2022. And is created by Joe Salsihai. Our producer is Karen Repine. The show is written by the brilliant Paulette Perhatch with help from Joe, me, and Doc G from the Earn and Invest podcast. After you listen to our show, check out the 201 Deep Dives written by our website manager and blog editor, Brooke Miller. You'll find the 411 on all things money at the 201. Just go to stackingbenjamins.com/201. Once we bottle up all this goodness, we ship it to our engineer, the amazing Steve Stewart. Steve helps the rest of our team sound nearly as good as I do right now. Want to chat with friends about the show later? Mom's friend Gertrude is our social media coordinator and the room mother in our Facebook group called The Basement. So, say hello when you see us posting online. Here's a weird fact. Both she and Tina Eichenberg are never in the same room at the same time. To join all the basement fun with other stackers, type stackingbenjamins.com/basement. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show. Not only should you not take advice from these dorks, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. Remember, kids, sun's out, guns out. You know, I got this special new coffee mug given to me, and I thought you guys for sure would be commenting on it, but not yet.
It's out of frame.
Well, it's been in frame 100 times on this recording.
Nobody said anything about mine.
Right. I already knew you had that. You were so excited when you got that, you sent me an image of it and said, look what I'm getting.
I know.
It's awesome. A coffee mug with a bad word on it. It's funny. My kids are going to laugh.
I sent Joe on Instagram. Are you not on Instagram still, Doug?
I'm still not on Instagram.
Okay.
It's the only demonstration of self-restraint that I've exercised in the last 2 years is taking myself off Instagram.
Off Instagram?
Yeah. I was spending way too much time on it. It was purely, not because I didn't like content. I just spent way too much time.
I was going to say, because I would leave Facebook before Instagram. I actually enjoy Instagram. Facebook, it's a labor of love.
Yeah, I've curated Facebook to get rid of a lot of the stuff that, you know, was really bothersome. And I feel like I'm kind of keeping up with stuff that I've known from years and years ago. Whereas Instagram, I wasn't getting as much of that, and I was just getting pretty pictures, which I love. Who doesn't? But that's why I backed off.
Brian Feraldi said that he's done that with his Twitter feed, that he's changed his Twitter feed so that it's all happy and fun. I'm like, that exists on Twitter, happy and fun? He's like, yeah, you just have to keep calling and calling. He's like, I get so excited about going to Twitter every day, but it truly is having some restraint and going, yeah, I don't need to be angry. I'm just going to get rid of this person.
Okay, so anyway, so here on Face of the Mug, have a great day. Happy, supportive, encouraging, and then I take a drink.
And the bottom of the mug appears.
And everybody gets my true feelings on the bottom of the cup.
Yes, which you can imagine, peeps, what that is.